When physical therapist Olivia Chen helps a handsome stranger recover from a near-fatal motorcycle accident, she has no idea he's tech billionaire Ethan Reed. As she guides him through his darkest days, neither expects the connection forming between them, or how his secrets might destroy everything they're building together. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Evergreen Rehabilitation Center, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Olivia Chen adjusted her white coat and brushed a strand of dark hair from her face as she reviewed the chart for her newest patient. According to the notes, John Doe, as he was still listed, had been brought in 3 days ago following a motorcycle accident that had left him with a broken leg, 3 cracked ribs, and a severe concussion. He'd been unconscious when admitted to the hospital and had only recently been transferred to their rehabilitation facility. Morning, Dr. Patel. Olivia greeted the physician as she approached the nurses' station. At 32, Olivia had established herself as one of the most dedicated physical therapists at Evergreen, known for taking on the most challenging cases. Olivia, good timing. Your new patient in room 204 is awake. Fair warning, he's not exactly thrilled to be here. Olivia smiled. Are they ever? Don't worry, I'll handle it. When Olivia knocked on the door to room 204, there was no response. She entered anyway, finding a man with dark hair staring out the window, his muscular frame diminished somewhat by the hospital bed. His right leg was elevated and encased in a cast, and bruises bloomed across the visible portions of his arms and face. Good morning, I'm Olivia Chen, your physical therapist, she said, moving into his line of sight. The man turned to look at her, his intense gray eyes studying her with a coolness that suggested he was used to sizing people up quickly. Despite his injuries, there was something commanding about his presence. I don't need a physical therapist, he said flatly. I need to get out of here. Olivia had heard this before. Well, mister... She glanced at the chart where only John was written. I'm afraid leaving isn't an option right now, not unless you plan to crawl out. Something flickered across his face, surprise perhaps at her directness. It's Ethan, he said after a moment. Just Ethan. Olivia nodded, making a note. The staff had mentioned he'd been reluctant to provide his full name or contact information. The wallet found with him had contained cash, but no ID. Well, just Ethan. Let's talk about your recovery plan. There's nothing to discuss. I heal fast. Always have. Olivia pulled up a chair and sat down, undeterred. That broken femur and those cracked ribs suggest otherwise. The doctors tell me you're lucky to be alive after what happened on that mountain road. Ethan's jaw tightened. Lucky isn't the word I'd use. For the first time, Olivia noticed the sadness beneath his irritation. She softened her approach. The accident was 3 days ago. Do you remember what happened? He looked away. Enough of it. Any family or friends I should contact? Someone who might want to know you're here? No, he said firmly. No one. Olivia didn't push. Some patients needed time to open up, and something told her Ethan had walls built higher than most. All right then, it's just you and me and about 6 weeks of intensive rehabilitation. Shall we get started? Over the next 2 hours, Olivia conducted her initial assessment. Despite his resistance, Ethan followed her instructions precisely, pushing through obvious pain without complaint. His strength was impressive, even in his injured state. Whoever he was, he clearly took physical fitness seriously. You've done physical therapy before, she observed as she helped him back into bed. Sports injuries, nothing like this. What sport? A brief hesitation. Rock climbing, mostly. That explained the calluses on his hands and his exceptional upper body strength. But there was something else about him, a precision to his movements, an awareness of his surroundings, that suggested more than recreational athletics. You're good at this, Ethan said unexpectedly as she adjusted his pillows. Most people talk too much. Olivia smiled. I save my chatter for patients who need distraction. You strike me as someone who prefers straightforward communication. Their eyes met, and for a moment, something passed between them. A mutual recognition. I'll be back this afternoon for your second session, she said, moving toward the door. Try to rest. Olivia, he called as she reached the doorway. She turned. Thank you, he said, the words sounding unpracticed, as if gratitude wasn't something he expressed often. That evening, Olivia returned to her small apartment exhausted. As she prepared a simple dinner, her thoughts kept drifting back to her mysterious patient. There was something about Ethan that intrigued her, and it wasn't just his reluctance to share personal details. Many patients were private, but few carried themselves with such contained intensity, even while injured. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister Maya. "How's the new job going? Mom's asking again when you're coming to visit." Olivia sighed. Since moving to Lakeshore 6 months ago for this position, she'd only visited her family in Seattle once. It wasn't just the 5-hour drive that kept her away. It was the constant questions about when she'd find a real hospital to work at, when she'd settle down, when she'd stop hiding in small towns. "Job's great," she texted back. "New patient today. Challenging case." Maya's response was immediate. "Challenging equals handsome in therapist speak?" Olivia rolled her eyes but couldn't help smiling. "Professional boundaries, Maya. Look it up." She put her phone down and tried to focus on her dinner, but her mind wandered back to room 204. There had been moments during their session when pain had broken through Ethan's careful control, and she'd glimpsed something vulnerable in those gray eyes. Whatever had brought him to that mountain road alone on a motorcycle, whatever he was running from, it was something significant. The next morning, Olivia arrived at Evergreen to find Dr. Patel waiting for her, looking concerned. "Your patient in 204 had a rough night," he said. "Nightmares, apparently. Refused medication. The night nurse said he was working on a laptop at 3 a.m. A laptop? Where did he get that?" "Had it delivered, along with some clothes and other personal items." Whatever financial concerns we had about John Doe seem unfounded. The delivery guy looked like private security. Olivia frowned. The mystery around Ethan was deepening rather than clearing up. When she entered his room, Ethan was indeed typing on a sleek laptop, his expression focused. Dark circles under his eyes confirmed the doctor's report about his sleepless night. "Most people sleep after trauma," she said by way of greeting. "It's how the body heals." Ethan closed the laptop. "Most people don't have companies to run. So you're a businessman." "Something like that." Olivia moved to check his vitals. "Your heart rate's elevated. Pain level?" 4, he said automatically. "The truth, please." He met her gaze, then relented. 7, maybe 8. She nodded. "That's why we have medication schedules. I don't like how they make me feel. Foggy. Better foggy than setting back your recovery." She held out the pain medication and a cup of water. To her surprise, he took them without further argument. "You said companies, plural," she noted as she began their stretching routine. "What kind of business?" Ethan watched her carefully, as if deciding how much to reveal. "Tech, primarily. Some investment ventures." "Successful?" A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Enough to afford private security delivering laptops to rehabilitation centers." Olivia couldn't help but smile back. It was the first glimpse of humor she'd seen from him. Their session progressed better than the day before, with Ethan pushing himself hard despite the pain. Olivia had to remind him repeatedly not to overdo it. "Healing isn't a race," she said as she helped him back to bed. "Your body needs time." "Time is the one thing I don't have," he muttered, then seemed to regret the admission. "Why? What's waiting for you out there that's so important?" He didn't answer immediately, adjusting himself in the bed with a wince. "Responsibilities. People counting on me." "And yet you said there was no one to contact about your accident." Ethan's expression hardened. "That's different." "Is it?" Olivia checked his leg elevation. "No family at all?" "None that matter." There was a story there, but Olivia knew better than to push. "Well, your mysterious responsibilities will have to wait. Your body has other plans." Later that day, Olivia was charting at the nurses' station when she overheard 2 nurses talking. "Did you see the news about Reed Technologies? Their stock dropped 15% after the CEO disappeared." "Disappeared? Like kidnapped?" "No, just vanished. Ethan Reed, you know the billionaire who developed that secure messaging platform? Apparently he missed some major conference and hasn't been seen in days. The company's in chaos." Olivia's hands stilled over her keyboard. Ethan Reed, the reclusive tech genius whose face rarely appeared in media. Could it be the same Ethan? She pulled out her phone and searched for images of Ethan Reed. There weren't many, and most were from distance or partially obscured, but the resemblance to her patient was striking. "Seems like a weird time to go off-grid," one nurse continued. "Their new product launch is next month." Maybe the pressure got to him. They say he's intense. Brilliant but difficult. Olivia closed the browser, feeling strangely protective of her patient, whether he was the missing billionaire or not. Everyone had the right to privacy, especially during recovery. The next morning, Olivia debated whether to mention her suspicions to Ethan. Professional boundaries suggested she shouldn't, but something told her that addressing it directly might actually help his recovery. If he was indeed Ethan Reed, carrying the secret while trying to heal was an additional burden. She found him staring out the window again, his laptop closed beside him. "Rough night?" she asked, noting the tension in his shoulders. "The usual." "Nightmares?" He turned to look at her, surprised by her perception. "How did you know?" "Common after trauma. Want to talk about them?" "Not particularly, but after a moment," he added. "They're always the same. I'm back on the motorcycle, but I know what's coming. I try to turn to avoid it, but I can't change direction." "That's your brain processing the accident," Olivia explained as she began their warm-up exercises. "It's trying to make sense of what happened, maybe even looking for ways it could have ended differently." "There's no different ending," Ethan said quietly. "Some paths only go one way." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. As their session continued, Olivia noticed Ethan's increasing frustration with his limitations. When he failed to complete a simple mobility exercise, he swore under his breath. "Patience," she reminded him. "You can't force this. I don't have time for setbacks. Is Reed Technologies really going to collapse if you take 6 weeks to recover properly?" The words left her mouth before she could reconsider. Ethan froze, his eyes locking onto hers with sudden intensity. "What did you say?" Olivia met his gaze steadily. "I think you heard me, Mr. Reed." For a long moment, silence hung between them. Then, unexpectedly, Ethan laughed, a short, surprised sound. "How long have you known?" "Just since yesterday. Overheard some nurses talking about the missing tech CEO. The timing fit." Ethan studied her. "And you didn't tell anyone?" It wasn't a question, but Olivia answered anyway. "Not my secret to share." He nodded slowly, a new respect in his eyes. "Most people would have sold the story to the highest bidder. Billionaire found in small-town rehab center after mysterious disappearance." "I'm not most people," Olivia said simply. "And I take patient confidentiality seriously. Even when the patient is lying about his identity? You gave me a first name. That's not lying, it's just not the whole truth." Ethan's expression softened. "Olivia Chen, you're something else." The way he said her name sent an unexpected warmth through her chest, which she quickly tamped down. Professional boundaries, she reminded herself. "So," she said, returning to their exercises, "want to tell me what a tech billionaire was doing alone on a mountain road on a motorcycle?" Ethan was quiet for so long that Olivia thought he might not answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, almost distant. "Running away, I suppose." "From what?" "From being Ethan Reed." He looked down at his hands. "The company's launching a new security platform next month. It's revolutionary, or it would be if it worked properly. But there are flaws, serious ones. I've been trying to fix them for months, barely sleeping, barely eating. And then..." "Then?" Olivia prompted gently. "My CTO, my best friend since college, came to me and said we should launch anyway, fix the flaws later, that the market wouldn't notice, that the stock would soar, that we could patch things quietly." His jaw tightened. He wanted to knowingly put flawed security software into the hands of millions. "And you disagreed." "It goes against everything I built the company for. Reed Technologies was supposed to be different, ethical, transparent." His eyes met hers. "We argued. Things were said that can't be unsaid. I walked out, got on my bike, and just drove. Needed to clear my head. And ended up here instead." Ethan nodded. "Cosmic joke, I guess." I was trying to escape making a life-altering decision, and the universe made one for me. Olivia considered his story. Maybe it's not a joke. Maybe it's an opportunity. For what? To lie in bed while my company implodes? To gain perspective. To remember what actually matters. Something in her words seemed to reach him, and Ethan fell silent, contemplative. As their session concluded, Olivia helped him back to bed. Their hands brushed, and she felt an unexpected jolt of awareness. Ethan seemed to feel it too, his eyes meeting hers with a question she wasn't ready to answer. "Same time tomorrow," she said quickly, stepping back. "Olivia," he called as she reached the door. She turned. "Thank you for keeping my secret." She nodded. "Rest, Mr. Reed." Doctor's orders. That evening, alone in her apartment, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about Ethan's story. She found herself researching Reed Technologies, learning about the secure messaging platform that had made him billions and earned him a reputation as a privacy advocate in the tech world. Articles described him as brilliant but intensely private, rarely giving interviews and never attending industry parties. One profile noted that after growing up in the foster system, he'd put himself through MIT on scholarships before founding his first company at 23. The mysterious CEO made more sense now, a self-made man used to relying only on himself, carrying the weight of responsibilities few could understand. No wonder he'd felt the need to escape, even temporarily. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Mom's birthday dinner next weekend. You're coming, right?" Dad says no excuses this time. Olivia sighed. She'd planned to work that weekend to cover for a colleague, but family obligations weren't easily dismissed in the Chen household. "I'll try," she texted back, knowing it wasn't the committed response her sister wanted. The truth was, going home always left Olivia feeling like she'd somehow disappointed everyone. Her parents had immigrated with such high hopes for their daughters. Maya had fulfilled those hopes by becoming a surgeon at a prestigious Seattle hospital. Olivia, with her physical therapy degree and small-town practice, was seen as settling for less. They didn't understand that she'd chosen this path deliberately, that after burning out at a high-pressure sports medicine clinic in Los Angeles, she'd realized she wanted a different kind of success. One measured in genuine connections and meaningful recovery, not prestige or salary. Her thoughts drifted back to Ethan. For all his wealth and success, he seemed to understand the weight of expectations better than most. Perhaps that's why she felt drawn to him in a way that went beyond professional interest. A recognition of similar struggles, albeit in vastly different circumstances. The next morning, Olivia arrived at Evergreen to find an unusual flurry of activity. A delivery team was setting up equipment in one of the therapy rooms, state-of-the-art rehabilitation technology that the center definitely couldn't afford on its budget. "What's all this?" she asked Dr. Patel, who was supervising the installation with barely contained excitement. "Anonymous donation," he said, beaming. "High-end rehab equipment. Latest models. Must be worth at least $500,000. There's more coming tomorrow. They're upgrading the entire East Wing." Olivia had a suspicion she knew exactly where the donation had come from. When she entered room 204, Ethan was on his laptop again, looking more rested than she'd seen him yet. "Feeling generous?" she asked, nodding toward the hallway where delivery people continued to bring in equipment. Ethan's expression remained neutral. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Of course not. Just like you have no idea about the 3 new wheelchair-accessible vans that arrived this morning." A small smile played at the corner of his mouth. "Evergreen provides excellent care. They deserve excellent tools." "That's very philanthropic of you." "Consider it enlightened self-interest. Better equipment means better therapy. Better therapy means I get out of here faster." But there was something in his eyes that told Olivia it was more than that. She'd seen how he watched the other patients during their brief walks through the facility. The elderly stroke survivor laboriously relearning to write, the teenage car accident victim struggling with her first steps using parallel bars. "Your secret's safe with me," she said with a knowing smile. "Your reputation as a difficult recluse remains intact." For the first time since she'd met him, Ethan laughed genuinely, a warm, rich sound that transformed his face. "You're not what I expected, Olivia Chen. What did you expect?" "Someone easier to keep at a distance." The honesty of his answer caught her off guard, sending a flutter through her chest that had nothing to do with professional satisfaction. Their session that day was their most productive yet. With Ethan finally being honest about his identity and circumstances, some of the tension had left his body, allowing for better movement and cooperation. As they worked, he asked about her background, seeming genuinely interested in what had brought her to Evergreen. "LA to Lakeshore is quite a change," he noted as she guided him through a series of strengthening exercises. "Most people move in the opposite direction. Most people are chasing the wrong things," Olivia replied. "I did that for years. Prestigious clinic, celebrity clients, 14-hour days. Looked great on paper. But I was miserable. Treating people who saw me as a means to an end, rushing patients through recovery because the schedule demanded it." She adjusted his leg position. "One day I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd actually helped someone in a way that mattered." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "So you came here. Small town, small center, patients who need the help. It's not glamorous, but it's real." She smiled. "My family thinks I'm wasting my potential." "Are you?" "Depends on how you define potential." Their eyes met. "Is a billionaire CEO wasting his potential by taking time to heal properly?" Ethan's lips curved into a smile. "Touché." As days turned into weeks, Ethan's progress accelerated. His determination, combined with Olivia's expertise, resulted in what Dr. Patel called remarkable improvement. The cast on his leg was replaced with a brace, allowing for more mobility. His ribs healed, and the bruises faded. And something else changed too. The guarded look in his eyes softened, especially when Olivia entered the room. Their sessions took on a comfortable rhythm, punctuated by conversations that grew increasingly personal. Ethan told her about growing up in foster care, about the math teacher who'd recognized his potential and pushed him to apply for scholarships, about building his first security algorithm in a college dorm room. Olivia shared stories of her grandmother in China who'd saved for years to send her son, Olivia's father, to America for an education, about the pressure to honor that sacrifice through achievement, about finding her own path despite family expectations. They were from different worlds, yet somehow spoke the same language of expectations, pressures, and the search for authentic purpose. One afternoon, as they finished a particularly challenging session, Ethan said suddenly, "I've made a decision about the company." Olivia, who had been adjusting his brace, looked up. "Oh?" "I'm going to delay the launch. Fix the security issues properly, even if it means taking a stock hit." His eyes met hers. "Some things matter more than market share. Your board will fight you on this." "Let them try," Ethan said, with a flash of the intensity she'd glimpsed when they first met. "It's still my company, my name on the building." Olivia straightened up, feeling oddly proud. "Good for you. I've been thinking about what you said, about perspective, about what matters." He hesitated. "Being here, watching people fight for basic mobility while I worried about stock prices, it clarifies things. That's the silver lining of accidents, I suppose." Forced reevaluation. Ethan reached out and caught her hand, surprising her. "Not just the accident," he said quietly. Their eyes met, and the air between them seemed to change, charged with something neither was ready to name. Olivia gently withdrew her hand, her heart racing. "We should finish your exercises." That night, unable to sleep, Olivia faced an uncomfortable truth. She was developing feelings for Ethan that went far beyond the professional. It had crept up on her, gradually, his dry humor, his unexpected kindness toward other patients, the vulnerability he showed only to her. But he was still her patient. And he was Ethan Reed, tech billionaire, a man whose life existed in a completely different orbit from hers. In a few weeks, he would walk out of Evergreen and back into his world of board meetings and product launches. Whatever connection they shared existed in the bubble of his recovery, temporary, situational. She told herself it was better this way, better to maintain boundaries, to focus on his physical recovery rather than the growing warmth in his eyes when he looked at her. Better to remember that men like Ethan Reed didn't end up with small-town physical therapists. Even if, for the first time in years, she'd met someone who seemed to see her, really see her, for exactly who she was. The next day, Olivia noticed a black luxury sedan parked outside Evergreen. As she approached the entrance, a tall woman in an impeccable suit stepped out, her sharp gaze sweeping the building with obvious distaste. "Can I help you?" Olivia asked, sensing trouble. The woman assessed Olivia quickly. "I'm looking for Ethan Reed." So his secret was out. "And you are?" Victoria Winters, Chief Operating Officer of Reed Technologies. She extended a business card with manicured fingers. "Mr. Reed has been incommunicado for almost 3 weeks. We've been concerned." "I see," Olivia said carefully. "Well, visiting hours begin at 9. Victoria's perfectly arched eyebrow rose. "I'm not a visitor, I'm his second-in-command. We have pressing matters to discuss." "Even second-in-commands follow visiting hours," Olivia replied pleasantly. "Hospital policy." Something that might have been grudging respect flickered across Victoria's face. "Fine. I'll wait." When Olivia entered Ethan's room 30 minutes later, she found him on his laptop, frowning at the screen. "You have a visitor," she said. "Victoria Winters. She doesn't seem like the patient type." Ethan's face tightened. "She isn't. How did she find me?" "You're a billionaire with a broken leg who suddenly bought $500,000 in rehabilitation equipment for a small-town facility." "Not exactly subtle." He sighed, closing the laptop. "I suppose it was inevitable." "Want me to tell her you're indisposed?" A smile touched his lips. Tempting, but no. Better to face the music. He hesitated. "Would you mind staying?" The request surprised her. "During your meeting?" "Victoria can be intense. Having you here might keep things civil." Professional boundaries screamed at Olivia to refuse, but something in Ethan's expression, a rare vulnerability, made her nod. "I'll stay." Victoria Winters swept into the room like a carefully controlled storm, her calculating gaze taking in every detail before settling on Ethan. 3 weeks, Ethan. 3 weeks of radio silence while our stock plummets and rumors fly." Her voice was even, but steel ran beneath the words. "The board is in panic mode." "Hello to you too, Victoria," Ethan replied dryly. "As you can see, I had a valid reason for my absence." Victoria's eyes flicked to his braced leg, then to Olivia. "And you are?" "Olivia Chen, Mr. Reed's physical therapist." Victoria dismissed her with a glance, turning back to Ethan. "We need you back. The Jensen meeting is next week, and the product launch is being postponed." Ethan finished firmly. Victoria froze. "Excuse me? The security platform isn't ready. The vulnerability in the encryption protocol is still unresolved. We've been over this. The issue affects less than 0.1% of potential users in extremely specific circumstances. The fix can be patched after launch." That extremely specific circumstance being government surveillance requests, Ethan countered, which defeats the entire purpose of what we're building. Victoria's professional veneer cracked slightly. "The board has already voted. The launch proceeds as scheduled. They can't vote without me. Emergency powers clause, triggered by your unexplained absence." Victoria's voice softened with practiced concern. "We were worried, Ethan. For all we knew, you were dead in a ditch somewhere." "Not dead," he said evenly. "Just reassessing priorities." Victoria's eyes narrowed as she looked between Ethan and Olivia. "I see." The implication in her tone made Olivia's cheeks warm. But she kept her expression neutral, professional. "Whatever distractions you found here," Victoria continued, "the reality is that millions of dollars and hundreds of jobs depend on this launch going well. And millions of users depend on our product actually doing what we promise." Ethan shot back. Protecting their privacy, not creating a backdoor for exactly the kind of surveillance we claim to prevent. Victoria sighed, switching tactics. The engineering team has worked night and day on this. Marcus says. Marcus is the reason I left. Ethan cut in, his voice hardening. He knew about the vulnerability for months and buried the reports. Olivia watched the exchange with growing unease. The tension between them spoke of long-standing battles and deeper issues than just this launch. You need to come back, Victoria said finally. Today. The company needs its founder, its visionary. She glanced dismissively around the room. Whatever soul-searching retreat this is, it's over. I'm not cleared for discharge, Ethan said. Doctor's orders. Victoria turned to Olivia. Surely exceptions can be made. Mr. Reed would have access to the finest medical care in the city. Recovery isn't just about access to equipment, Olivia replied evenly. It's about following a proper rehabilitation protocol. Rushing it risks setbacks. With all due respect, Ms. Chen, you don't understand what's at stake here. Ethan considered the question seriously. No, but sometimes I wonder about roads not taken. He turned the question back to her. What about you? Always wanted to be a physical therapist? Olivia smiled. I wanted to be a dancer. Ballet, specifically. What happened? Tore my ACL when I was 17. Dreams of Juilliard died on the operating table. She saw his sympathetic wince, but during rehabilitation I discovered I loved the science of recovery, the process of helping people rebuild. It felt meaningful. It is meaningful, Ethan said with unexpected intensity. What you do here, it matters. The conviction in his voice warmed something deep inside her. In the high-powered world he came from, success was measured in stock prices and market share. Yet he saw value in her work that even her own family sometimes missed. Saturday arrived, and with it, Olivia's dreaded family dinner. Her father picked her up as promised, the drive filled with updates about relatives and community happenings. Your mother's excited to see you, he said as they neared Seattle. It's been too long. Guilt tugged at Olivia. I know, Dad. Work has been busy. He glanced at her, his expression softening. That's good. Busy is good. A pause. But your mother worries, we both do. Living alone in that small town. I'm not alone. I have friends, colleagues. It's not the same as family. Olivia couldn't argue with that. Instead, she asked about his gardening projects, steering the conversation to safer waters. The dinner itself went as expected. Her mother had prepared all her favorite dishes, the table beautifully set. Maya arrived with her husband and their toddler son, completing the family picture. For the first hour, everything was pleasant. Catching up, playing with her nephew, sharing safe stories about work. Then came the inevitable turn. Dr. Mehta's daughter just joined the surgical team at Metropolitan. Her mother mentioned too casually. They have an excellent rehabilitation department, you know. Mom, Maya warned, recognizing the familiar pattern. What? I'm just mentioning it. With Olivia's qualifications, she could easily... I'm happy at Evergreen, Mom, Olivia interrupted gently. My work there matters. Of course it matters, dear, her mother sighed, but you could be doing so much more. The familiar refrain stung, even though Olivia had expected it. More isn't always better. Your talent is wasted in that small place. Her father joined in. You graduated top of your class. You could be treating professional athletes, working with cutting-edge technology. Olivia thought of Ethan's words. What's the point of success if you compromise everything that matters to achieve it? I'm making a difference where I am, she said with newfound conviction. My patients need me. They're not just cases. They're people rebuilding their lives. Her parents exchanged a look she knew too well. Concerned, disappointed. We just want what's best for you, her mother said. I know, but I need you to trust that I know what that is, even if it doesn't look like what you imagined. An uncomfortable silence fell, broken by her nephew demanding attention. The moment passed, but Olivia felt both drained and strangely empowered by having defended her choices more firmly than usual. Later, as her father drove her home, he surprised her by saying, "You seem different." Different how? More certain. He glanced at her. "This job, it's really what you want?" "It is, Dad. Not forever, maybe, but for now, it's exactly where I need to be." He nodded slowly. "Then we'll try to understand." It wasn't wholehearted approval, but it was a step. Olivia smiled, feeling as though something had shifted, not just between her and her family, but within herself. When she returned to Evergreen on Monday, Ethan immediately noticed the change in her. "Good weekend?" he asked as she helped him with his walking exercises. He was using crutches now, making impressive progress. "Complicated," she admitted. "Family dinner." "Ah! When are you getting a real job dinner?" She laughed. "Something like that, but it was different this time. I was different." "How so?" "I defended my choices instead of deflecting. Told them that what I do here matters, even if it's not prestigious." Pride flickered in Ethan's eyes. "Good for you. Actually, something you said helped. About not compromising what matters for success." He stopped walking, turning to face her. "I'm glad. Because you're extraordinary at what you do, Olivia. Not despite working here, but because of it. Because you care enough to see your patients as people first." The sincerity in his voice made her throat tight with emotion. "Thank you." Their eyes held for a moment too long, the connection between them humming with unspoken feelings. Then Olivia gently redirected him back to their exercises, safely back in professional territory. That afternoon, Ethan received an unexpected visitor, Marcus Chen, his chief technology officer, and the friend he'd argued with before his accident. Olivia happened to be passing by as Marcus arrived, a tall man with glasses and an anxious expression. "Ethan," Marcus said as he entered the room, relief evident in his voice. "Man, you look actually better than I expected." "Broken bones heal," Ethan replied, his tone guarded. Marcus nodded, clearly uncomfortable. "Look, I owe you an apology. You were right about the security issues. I've been working with the team day and night since Victoria told us where you were. We're close to a solution." Ethan's expression softened slightly. "Show me." As the two men bent over Marcus's laptop, discussing technical details Olivia couldn't follow, she quietly withdrew. This was Ethan's world, one she wasn't part of, a reminder of the reality waiting for him beyond Evergreen's walls. Later, when she returned for their evening session, Ethan was alone again, looking thoughtful. "Good reunion?" she asked. "Getting there." Ethan smiled slightly. 10 years of friendship doesn't disappear overnight, even with a betrayal of trust. We're working through it. That's good. Marcus brought updated security protocols. The team's made progress. Real progress, not just cosmetic fixes. Ethan hesitated. "They need me back, Olivia. Sooner rather than later." Though she'd known this moment was coming, Olivia felt her heart sink. "Dr. Patel said you might be ready for discharge in another week or two, with outpatient therapy continuing. Victoria's arranged for a specialist in the city. Top rehabilitation team." He watched her face carefully. "It makes sense, logistically. The company needs me physically present." "Of course," Olivia said, professional mask firmly in place. "When would you leave?" "Day after tomorrow." "So soon?" Olivia nodded, focusing on adjusting his leg brace to hide the unexpected wave of emotion. "I'll prepare your discharge paperwork." "Olivia." Ethan's hand covered hers, stilling her movements. "This isn't how I wanted." He trailed off, seeming uncharacteristically uncertain. "It's fine," she said quickly. "You're recovering well. Returning to your life is the natural next step." "Is that all this is to you? A patient returning to his life?" The direct question caught her off guard. Olivia met his gaze, seeing vulnerability beneath the confident exterior. "What do you want me to say, Ethan? That I'll miss our sessions?" "I will. That's normal when you work closely with someone." This isn't normal, and we both know it. His voice was low, intense. There's something between us, something that started the moment you called me out on my attitude that first day. Olivia's heart raced. You're my patient. For another 48 hours. And then you're Ethan Reed, tech billionaire, returning to a world that has nothing to do with mine. That's not fair, isn't it? Olivia withdrew her hand from his. Your life is board meetings and product launches and private helicopters. Mine is here. It doesn't have to be that simple, doesn't it? Olivia stood, needing distance. What exactly are you suggesting, Ethan? That we date? That I come visit you in your penthouse between treating patients here? That you fly in on weekends between solving the world's security problems? Ethan's jaw tightened. I'm suggesting that what we found here is worth exploring, regardless of logistics. Olivia wanted to believe him. The connection between them was unlike anything she'd experienced. A recognition that went beyond attraction to something deeper, a sense of being truly seen, but reality couldn't be wished away. I think it's better if Dr. Patel handles your final evaluations, she said quietly. I'll prepare the transfer notes for your new therapy team. Olivia, it's the right call, professionally speaking. She moved toward the door. I wish you well, Ethan. Truly. She left before he could respond, maintaining her composure until she reached the staff bathroom. Only then did she allow the tears to fall, mourning something that had never really had the chance to begin. The next day, Olivia intentionally adjusted her schedule to avoid Ethan's room. It was cowardly, perhaps, but necessary for her emotional equilibrium. She focused on her other patients, throwing herself into their care with perhaps too much enthusiasm. By evening, she was exhausted, but satisfied, with having made it through the day without seeing him. Tomorrow he would leave, and gradually the ache in her chest would fade. Life would return to normal, the life she had chosen, the work she valued. As she gathered her things to leave, Dr. Patel approached her desk. Olivia, I've been meaning to talk to you about something exciting. His eyes were bright with enthusiasm. We've received an incredible opportunity, a grant to establish a state-of-the-art rehabilitation program here at Evergreen. A grant? Olivia frowned. From whom? The Reed Foundation. Dr. Patel smiled. Apparently, Mr. Reed was quite impressed with our facility during his stay. The grant includes funding for advanced equipment, staff training, and this is the part one wanted to discuss with you, a director position for the new program. Olivia stared at him, speechless. The position would come with a substantial salary increase, of course, Dr. Patel continued, and the opportunity to build something truly special here. The foundation specifically mentioned your name in the proposal. They're quite insistent that you lead the program. Emotions warred within Olivia, gratitude, excitement, and a flare of anger. This felt like Ethan's way of, what? Keeping her in his orbit? Compensating for their impossible situation? Creating an obligation? I need to think about it, she said finally. Dr. Patel looked surprised. Of course. Take your time. Though the foundation would like an answer within the week. Olivia nodded, her mind racing as she gathered her things and headed for the parking lot. The cool evening air did nothing to clear her confusion. A grant was wonderful for Evergreen, for their patients, but accepting a position created for her by Ethan felt complicated in ways she couldn't fully articulate. Lost in thought, she almost didn't notice the figure leaning against her car until she was only a few feet away. Ethan stood there, no crutches now, though he still favored his good leg. In the fading light, dressed in casual clothes rather than hospital attire, he looked both familiar and like a stranger. What are you doing here? She asked, stopping a safe distance away. Waiting for you, he said simply, since you've been avoiding me all day. I've been working. I know. No accusation in his voice, just understanding. Dr. Patel told you about the grant? Just now. Olivia crossed her arms. That was presumptuous of you. Maybe. Ethan took a step toward her. But Evergreen deserves the support, and you deserve the recognition. I don't need your charity, Ethan. It's not charity. It's investment in excellence. His expression softened. The grant has no strings, Olivia. Whether you take the director position or not, whether you ever speak to me again or not, the funding stays. Evergreen will get its program. The sincerity in his voice made it hard to maintain her anger. Why? Because what happens here matters. You helped me see that. He took another step closer. And because I needed a reason to come back. Olivia's heart stuttered. What are you talking about? I'm still leaving tomorrow, Ethan said. The company needs me. But the foundation headquarters will be relocating to Lakeshore. I'll be splitting my time between here and the city. You're moving your foundation because of a rehabilitation center? Because of what I found here. His eyes held hers. Perspective. Purpose. You. The directness of his answer left her speechless. I'm not asking for promises, Olivia. Just a chance. Dinner, when I return next week. As Ethan and Olivia, not patient and therapist, the walls she'd carefully constructed began to crumble. It's not that simple. It can be, if we let it. He closed the remaining distance between them, close enough now that she could see the flecks of blue in his gray eyes. I've spent my life building walls, controlling variables, calculating risks. Then a motorcycle accident and a stubborn physical therapist showed me what I was missing. And what was that? Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Connection. Authenticity. The courage to let someone see the real me. Not just the CEO or the billionaire or the tech genius. His hand gently touched her cheek. You saw me, Olivia. No one's done that in a very long time. The tenderness in his touch undid her final reservations. I did see you, she admitted. From that first day, beneath all the frustration and walls, I saw someone worth knowing. Ethan's smile was soft, genuine. So have dinner with me next week. No expectations, no pressure, just two people exploring whatever this is between us. Looking into his eyes, Olivia found herself nodding. Okay. Okay, he echoed, relief evident in his voice. As the sun set behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the parking lot, Ethan leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. Instead, Olivia closed the distance, their lips meeting in a kiss that felt both inevitable and surprising, the beginning of something neither had been looking for, but both had somehow found. When they finally parted, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. Worth waiting for, he murmured. Olivia smiled, a lightness in her chest she hadn't felt in years. Tomorrow, Ethan would return to his world of technology and corporate decisions. She would continue her work at Evergreen, perhaps with a new title and responsibilities. Their lives would remain different in many ways. But standing there in the fading light, Olivia realized that perhaps the differences didn't matter as much as what they shared. A commitment to integrity, to meaningful work, to authentic connection. The path forward wouldn't be simple, but few things worth having ever were. So, Ethan said, his eyes bright with possibility. Dinner next Friday? Olivia laughed, the sound carrying into the evening air. It's a date. 6 months after Ethan Reed's motorcycle accident, Evergreen Rehabilitation Center was almost unrecognizable. The once modest facility now boasted cutting-edge equipment, expanded therapy rooms, and a specialized neurological rehabilitation wing, all funded by the Reed Foundation's generous grant. Olivia stood in the doorway of the new aquatic therapy pool, watching as a young stroke survivor took her first independent steps in the supportive water. Pride swelled in her chest, not just for the patient's progress, but for what Evergreen had become under her leadership as program director. That smile tells me everything I need to know, said a familiar voice behind her. Olivia turned to find Ethan, dressed casually in jeans and a simple button-down, looking nothing like the billionaire tech CEO the world knew him as. To her, he was just Ethan, the man who had slowly, steadily become the center of her world over the past months. Sarah took 5 steps without assistance, Olivia said, her eyes bright with excitement. Last week, she couldn't even stand in the pool without support. Ethan's smile matched hers. That's incredible. This facility is incredible, she corrected, gesturing to the state-of-the-art pool. You made this possible. I provided resources, Ethan countered, slipping his arm around her waist. You've built something extraordinary here, Olivia. This is all you. Their first dinner date, 6 months ago, had stretched into hours of conversation, neither wanting the evening to end. That night had led to more dinners, weekend hikes as Ethan's legs strengthened, quiet evenings at Olivia's apartment, and video calls when he was in the city managing Reed Technologies. Their relationship had developed with deliberate care, both aware of the complexities of their different worlds, yet increasingly unwilling to let those differences matter. Ethan had kept his promise, dividing his time between the city and Lakeshore, where the Reed Foundation now operated from a converted historic building downtown. "Have you had lunch?" Ethan asked, checking his watch. "Not yet. I've been caught up with evaluations all morning." "Perfect timing, then. I've got a surprise." Ethan led her to his car. Not the flashy luxury vehicle one might expect, but a practical electric SUV that handled Lakeshore's occasionally rugged terrain. As they drove, Olivia noticed they were heading out of town toward the mountain roads. "Where are we going?" she asked, curious. "You'll see." His enigmatic smile told her he'd planned something special. 20 minutes later, they turned onto a private road that wound up into the foothills. Pine trees lined the path, dappling the sunlight as they climbed higher. Finally, they emerged into a clearing with a breathtaking view of the valley below. In the center of the clearing stood a modern cabin, its glass and timber structure blending harmoniously with the natural surroundings. "What is this place?" Olivia asked as Ethan parked. "It's mine. Or ours if you want." He looked suddenly vulnerable. "I bought the land 3 months ago. The cabin was just completed last week." Olivia stared at him, then at the beautiful structure. "You built a house here?" "I needed a place that was truly mine, not just an investment property or company accommodation." Ethan's eyes held hers. Somewhere that could be home. The word hung between them, laden with meaning. In their months together, they'd never discussed living arrangements or long-term plans, both cautious about pushing too fast, despite the deepening of their relationship. "Would you like to see inside?" Ethan asked, a hint of nervousness in his voice. The cabin was stunning, open and airy, with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the mountain views. The interior was warm and inviting, luxurious without being ostentatious. A stone fireplace anchored the living room, and the kitchen featured simple, elegant design. "There's a home office that could easily be converted to a therapy space," Ethan explained as they toured. "If you ever wanted to see private patients or do consultations from home." Home. The word echoed in Olivia's mind as she realized what Ethan was really saying. "This is beautiful," she said softly, running her hand along a wooden countertop. "But it's a big step." "I know." Ethan took her hands in his. "I'm not asking you to move in tomorrow. I'm just showing you what I've been working on, what I've been thinking about." His thumbs traced circles on her palms. "I love you, Olivia. I think I have since those first weeks at Evergreen when you saw past all my walls." Though they'd been together for months, it was the first time he'd said those words. Olivia's heart swelled, tears pricking at her eyes. "I love you too," she whispered, the truth of it resonating deep within her. "But our lives are still so different." "Are they?" Ethan challenged gently. "I spend most of my time in Lakeshore now. The foundation is here, and with remote technology, I can run Reed Technologies from anywhere." He smiled. "Besides, the difference in our worlds is what keeps me grounded. Reminds me what matters." Olivia thought about how far they'd both come since their first meeting. Ethan learning to balance ambition with personal fulfillment. She gaining confidence in the value of her work and choices. "I'm not asking for an answer now," Ethan continued. "The cabin is here whenever you're ready. If you're ready." Instead of responding with words, Olivia leaned in and kissed him deeply, pouring all her emotions into the connection between them. When they parted, both slightly breathless, she smiled. "Let's have that lunch you promised," she said, "and then maybe explore the rest of our potential home." The joy that lit up Ethan's face was all the confirmation she needed that they were on the right path, however unconventional it might seem to others. 3 weeks later, Olivia stood nervously in her parents' living room in Seattle. Ethan sat beside her on the sofa, outwardly calm, but she could feel the tension in his hand as it held hers. "So," her father said, breaking the awkward silence that had fallen after their announcement that they were moving in together. "You're the famous Ethan Reed." "Just Ethan is fine, sir," he replied with a small smile. Olivia's mother brought in a tray of tea, her expression carefully neutral. When Olivia had called to say she was bringing someone special to meet them, her parents had been delighted, until she mentioned his name. The Billionaire tech CEO, whose face occasionally appeared in business news, was not who they had expected their daughter to bring home. "Olivia tells us you met during your rehabilitation," her mother said, handing out cups of tea with perfect politeness. "Yes," Ethan confirmed. "I was fortunate to have her as my physical therapist. She's exceptional at what she does." Maya, who had insisted on being present for this meeting, smiled approvingly at Ethan's praise of her sister. "And now you've built a house in Lakeshore," Olivia's father stated flatly. "Rather sudden, isn't it?" "Dad," Olivia warned. "It's a fair question," Ethan said calmly. "The house was actually planned before Olivia and I discussed living together. I needed a place away from the city, somewhere quieter where I could focus on the foundation's work." "The Reed Foundation," Maya interjected. "I read about your new rehabilitation initiative. It's impressive." "Thank you," Ethan said, though Olivia deserves much of the credit for its direction. Her insights have been invaluable. Olivia squeezed his hand gratefully, appreciating his effort to highlight her professional contributions rather than just their relationship. "I still don't understand," her mother said, setting down her teacup with precision. "Olivia, you've worked so hard to build your career. Are you really going to give it all up to become—" She trailed off. But the implication was clear. To become a billionaire's girlfriend, a trophy partner. "I'm not giving up anything, Mom," Olivia said firmly. "I'm still the program director at Evergreen. The only thing changing is my address. And eventually, my last name, if she'll have me," Ethan added quietly. The room fell silent. Olivia turned to him, eyes wide. They had discussed moving in together, but marriage had remained an unspoken possibility, hovering in the future. "That's not how I plan to bring that up," he said with a rueful smile. "But yes, I hope that someday when you're ready, you'll consider making this arrangement more permanent." Maya broke the stunned silence with a laugh. "Well, that's one way to meet the parents." The tension in the room dissipated somewhat. Olivia's father cleared his throat, studying Ethan with new intensity. "What are your intentions toward my daughter?" he asked, falling back on traditional fatherly concern. "To love her, support her career and dreams, and do everything in my power to make her happy," Ethan answered without hesitation. "Olivia changed my life, Mr. Chen. Before I met her, I was all about work, success, the next technological breakthrough. She reminded me what actually matters." Olivia felt tears threatening at the simple sincerity in his voice. Her mother's expression softened slightly. "And what about children?" she asked, never one to shy away from difficult questions. "Your lives are so different, your backgrounds, your worlds." "Mom," Olivia protested, feeling her cheeks flush. "It's okay," Ethan assured her. "These are things families wonder about." He turned to Olivia's mother. "Mrs. Chen, you're right that Olivia and I come from different backgrounds, but we share the same values. Integrity, compassion, the belief that success isn't measured by wealth or status, but by the impact you have on others' lives." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "As for children, that would be Olivia's decision as much as mine. My company and foundation are set up to allow me the flexibility to be present as a partner and, if we're blessed, as a parent." Something in his thoughtful response seemed to reach Olivia's mother. Her expression warmed incrementally. "You seem to have considered this carefully," she acknowledged. "I have," Ethan confirmed. "Your daughter is the most important person in my world. I wouldn't be here asking for your blessing if I hadn't thought about every aspect of our future together." By the end of the evening, the atmosphere had transformed. While not completely won over, Olivia's parents had moved from skepticism to cautious acceptance. As they prepared to leave, her father took Ethan aside for a private word, while Olivia helped her mother clear the tea things. "He's not what I expected," her mother admitted quietly in the kitchen. "What did you expect?" Olivia asked, curious. "Someone arrogant, entitled." Her mother shook her head. "He doesn't act like a billionaire." Olivia smiled. That's part of why I love him. Money hasn't changed who he is at heart. Her mother studied her face. You really do love him. I do, Mom, and he loves me. Not as an accessory or a trophy, but for exactly who I am. Then I'm happy for you, her mother said, surprising Olivia with a tight hug. All we've ever wanted is for you to be valued for the remarkable woman you are. In the car ride back to their hotel, Olivia asked Ethan about his conversation with her father. He wanted to make sure I understood what I was getting into, Ethan said with a smile. Apparently, Chen women are stubborn, opinionated, and always think they're right. Olivia laughed. That's pretty accurate, actually. He also said that if I ever hurt you, he would hunt me down regardless of how many security personnel I employ. Also accurate, Olivia confirmed, grinning. So, are you scared off yet? Ethan reached across the console to take her hand. On the contrary, I'm more convinced than ever that I want to be part of your family. The warmth in his voice made Olivia's heart swell. Despite the lingering uncertainties about how their different worlds would ultimately mesh, she felt more secure than ever in their decision to build a life together. 1 year to the day after Ethan's motorcycle accident, they stood together in the newly completed Evergreen Neurological Rehabilitation Center. The ribbon-cutting ceremony had attracted local press, medical professionals, and community members curious about the state-of-the-art facility that would serve patients from across the region. This center represents hope, Olivia said in her speech, her voice clear and confident as she addressed the gathered crowd. Hope for patients facing the long road of recovery after stroke, traumatic brain injury, or neurological conditions. Every detail, from the equipment to the lighting to the therapy spaces, has been designed with healing in mind. She glanced at Ethan, who stood proudly at her side. None of this would have been possible without the Reed Foundation's vision and support. But more importantly, without Ethan Reed's personal understanding of what rehabilitation truly means, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. When it was Ethan's turn to speak, he surprised everyone by keeping his remarks brief and deeply personal. A year ago today, I was in a motorcycle accident that nearly cost me my life, he said. I arrived at Evergreen angry, withdrawn, and focused only on getting back to work as quickly as possible. His eyes found Olivia's. What I found instead was a new understanding of healing, purpose, and connection. This center isn't just about cutting-edge technology or advanced therapeutic approaches, though it certainly offers both. It's about seeing patients as whole people, with lives and dreams beyond their medical conditions. As the ceremony concluded and guests mingled during the reception, Dr. Patel approached Olivia with a wide smile. When you first suggested we needed a neurological specialization, I thought you were being ambitious, he admitted. Now look at this. He gestured around the beautiful new facility. You've transformed Evergreen, Olivia. We all did, she corrected. The entire team made this possible. With your vision and Ethan's resources, Dr. Patel added. He lowered his voice slightly. Speaking of which, he seems different from most wealthy donors I've encountered. More genuine. Olivia smiled, watching as Ethan chatted with one of their former patients, giving the elderly man his complete attention, despite the important donors hovering nearby. That's because he understands what it means to rebuild, she said softly. To find yourself at rock bottom and work your way back up, step by painful step. Later that evening, after the guests had departed and the staff had gone home, Olivia and Ethan walked through the quiet facility. Their footsteps echoed in the empty halls as they took a moment to appreciate what they had built together. Hard to believe it's been a year, Ethan mused, his hand warm in hers. Sometimes it feels like yesterday that I was arguing with you about pain medication and physical therapy protocols. Olivia laughed. You were a terrible patient. I was, he agreed cheerfully, but you were an excellent therapist. He stopped walking, turning to face her. You saved me, you know. Not just my leg or my physical recovery. You saved me from becoming someone I didn't want to be. Someone isolated, obsessed with work, disconnected from what matters. You saved yourself, Olivia countered gently. I just showed you the path. Ethan shook his head. You did more than that. You walked it with me. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "And I'm hoping you'll keep walking with me for the rest of our lives." Olivia's breath caught as he opened the box to reveal a ring, elegant and understated, with a simple diamond flanked by smaller sapphires that matched the color of their cabin's lake view. "I had a whole evening planned," Ethan continued, a hint of nervousness in his voice. "Dinner at that Italian place you love, champagne, sunset. But standing here, in the place where we met, on the anniversary of the accident that changed everything, it suddenly feels right." He took her hand, his eyes never leaving hers. "Olivia Chen, you saw me at my worst, and somehow found something worth loving. You challenge me, ground me, and make me happier than I ever thought possible. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Olivia's eyes as she nodded, joy making it momentarily impossible to speak. "Yes," she finally managed. "Absolutely yes." As Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that promised a lifetime of partnership, Olivia marveled at the journey that had brought them here. A random accident, a reluctant patient, and a dedicated therapist. Ordinary beginnings that had led to an extraordinary love. 6 months later, they were married in a simple ceremony at their mountain cabin, surrounded by family, close friends, and several former patients who had become dear to them both. Olivia's parents, having finally embraced Ethan as the man who truly saw and valued their daughter, beamed with pride as they walked her down the aisle. Maya, serving as maid of honor, whispered to Olivia just before the ceremony, "Remember when Mom used to worry about you wasting your potential in Lakeshore? Now look at you, running a cutting-edge rehabilitation center, married to a billionaire who adores you, changing lives every day." Olivia smiled, adjusting her simple but elegant gown. The billionaire part is still the least interesting thing about him. And it was true. As Ethan stood waiting for her, his eyes filled with love and promise, Olivia knew that what made their relationship work wasn't his wealth or her career success. It was the genuine connection they'd forged during those first difficult weeks of his recovery. A connection built on seeing past surface identities to the authentic person beneath. Their vows, written by each of them, spoke of partnership, growth, and the unexpected gifts that can come from life's greatest challenges. Ethan promised to support Olivia's dreams as fiercely as she had supported his recovery. Olivia promised to continue reminding him of what truly mattered when the demands of business threatened to overwhelm. At the reception, held on the cabin's expansive deck overlooking the valley, Dr. Patel raised a toast that brought tears to many eyes. To Olivia and Ethan, he said, "Glass raised high," will remind us that healing comes in many forms, and that sometimes the most powerful medicine is simply being seen for who you truly are. As they danced under the stars, Ethan held Olivia close. "Happy?" he murmured against her hair. "Completely," she answered, resting her head against his chest. "Though I still can't believe how our story started. You, the world's grumpiest patient." He laughed. "The universe has an interesting way of bringing people together. Through a motorcycle accident. Through moments that force us to stop and reassess," he corrected. "I needed to be broken open to let the right person in." As the evening progressed, they slipped away from the celebration to stand at the edge of the property, looking out over the twinkling lights of Lakeshore in the distance. "I have something to tell you," Olivia said, a hint of nervousness in her voice. "I was going to wait until after the honeymoon, but—" Ethan turned to her, concern flickering in his eyes. "What is it?" She took his hand and placed it gently on her still flat stomach. "We're going to need to convert one of those spare bedrooms into a nursery." For a moment, Ethan stood frozen, processing her words. Then his face transformed with wonder and joy. "You're pregnant?" Olivia nodded, tears of happiness shining in her eyes. "About 8 weeks. I confirmed it yesterday." Ethan pulled her into a gentle embrace, his own eyes damp. "A baby," he whispered, awe in his voice. "Our baby." "Are you happy?" she asked, though his reaction had already answered her question. "Beyond happy," he assured her. "It's more than I ever dared hope for." He kissed her tenderly, then rested his forehead against hers. "Thank you." "For getting pregnant?" Olivia teased. "For everything," Ethan clarified. "For being tough on me when I needed it. For seeing potential in me when I was at my worst. For building this life with me." As they stood together under the vast canopy of stars, Olivia reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought them here. From their first contentious meeting in a rehabilitation center room to this moment of profound joy and promise, their path had been unexpected, but perfect in its own way. What had begun as a professional relationship between a dedicated therapist and a reluctant patient had evolved into a partnership built on mutual respect, understanding, and love. Two people from seemingly different worlds had discovered that beneath the surface labels, billionaire, therapist, CEO, caregiver, they shared the same fundamental values and dreams. "We should get back to our guests," Olivia said eventually, though she was reluctant to break the magical moment. Ethan nodded but held her hand tightly as they turned back toward the cabin aglow with lights and laughter. "They can wait another minute," he said softly. "I'm not quite ready to share you yet." As they stood on the threshold of their home and their future, Olivia felt a profound sense of gratitude. For the accident that had brought Ethan into her life. For his stubbornness that had matched her own. For the courage they had both found to cross the boundaries of their separate worlds and build something new together. In helping Ethan heal, she had found her own path to wholeness. In loving her, he had discovered parts of himself long buried beneath ambition and isolation. Together, they had created not just a relationship, but a shared purpose: to heal, to build, to love without reservation. And as they rejoined their celebration, surrounded by the people who mattered most, Olivia knew with absolute certainty that sometimes life's most painful moments led to its greatest gifts. Sometimes, a stranger's accident could change everything, and sometimes, against all odds, two people from different worlds could find home in each other's hearts. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.